recall a video or so back that I produced this long shanked hollowing tool. So it's a straight hollowing tool with a small carbide cutter on it, and the purpose of that was so I could do some deep hollowing on this vase that I'm producing. I also showed you some of the stock that I picked up, local hardware store, and I had shown you some black pipe at that time. Well, that's not going to work out. The black pipe turns out to be just over 1 inch in diameter, and even with my slightly enlarged banjo, which I enlarged from the 25 millimeter to the 1 inch, the black pipe was still a little bit too big. So I found something else. We're going to give it a shot. This is a 1 inch threaded bolt, and this part is going to become the actual tool post. I picked this up at I think it was an Ace Hardware. They're not cheap. It's about 14 bucks, I think, for a bolt this size, but it's going to give me, at least for this Harbor Freight lathe, at least 2 usable tool posts out of it. So I'm going to cut this up, cut up the other stock, and try a bit of welding. Alright, turners, I've got a little Harbor Freight welding table set up here right now just as a base for the little Harbor Freight cutoff saw. On my workbench, which is back here, I've set up, this is a welding blanket. You can also pick these up at Harbor Freight pretty affordably. So again, I only mentioned the fact that I use this Harbor Freight stuff because it's affordable and it works. So of course that's not true of everything they sell, but for the things that I pick, it's serviceable. So what I'm going to do is mark this stock now. I've got the stock down here. I'm going to make 2 different rests, and one is going to be, I'm going to cut it at 5 inches, and the other one is probably going to be longer. And my intent is to be able to have the 2 rests as captive rests. So in other words, what I'm going to do is, because the bar on the hollowing tool I showed you is made on a 3/8 inch square steel bar stock, the depth of this channel is just a hair over 3/8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this captive by welding this flat stock on top of this channel, kind of like so, and that tool will fit inside the end of this. So I'm going to produce 5-inch segments of each of these, and then I'm going to make one that's probably about 8 inches long. And that's going to give me the depth I need for various hollowing. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this and start the cutting process. Just a reminder to use a face shield or goggles whenever you're going to be doing metal cutting operations. You don't want to get stuff in your eyes. Alright, I'm not sure that this little guy has enough horsepower to cut through this 1-inch bolt. However, I'm going to give it a shot. I don't have a proper metal cutting bandsaw, which would probably do the trick. I also don't own a metal lathe, which would probably also, I could probably part this off. So I'm going to go ahead and try this little saw and see how she does. Well, guys, I'd have to say I'm pretty impressed with that. It's going to take a little cleanup on the grinder, but wow. And I thought it would remove more of the cutting blade material, but that cut pretty nicely, so I'm off to a good start here. Oh, and just another reminder, make sure you have something to pick up the cut off pieces of hot metal with. This piece is extremely hot. How hot? Do you hear that? Do you see that? This is not something you want to pick up with your fingers. So, darn magnetic bowl. Anyway, another Harbor Freight freebie. Anyway, that water is probably going to get close to boiling soon. I'm going to just set that down on the workbench and let that thing cool off. But don't be tempted to grab hot metal with your fingers. Metal workers probably already know that, but sometimes us woodworkers, we might forget. Okay, now I'm going to do a little cleaning up of this. You can see there's a little burrs and stuff on here. I want to get this cleaned up with the grinder and try to get it, it's almost square, but I'm going to try to get it square. You want to use a little square to do that as you're doing this. One of the things, you probably don't want to use your sharpening grinder that you use on your lathe tools. You want an probably old beater grinder if you have one to do this kind of work. I wouldn't want to use the nicer stones that I have on my sharpening grinder to do this rough work. So, but you got to use what you got. Okay guys, what I just did was, I don't know if you can see the lines on there very well, I did a little bit of layout on this. This is some of the leftover bar stock. I'm going to cut this part off and then cut it off here. This segment right here, I don't know what you call it, I'm going to call it a truss, but I'm going to use it underneath, how would I demonstrate this? I'm going to use it underneath the channel stock here as support. So I'm going to do that on both sides. These smaller wedges, I'm going to basically, after I get that cut off, I'm going to cut this in half, and I'm going to use these, one for each of the tool rests. So after I get through with this, I need to lay out. So this is for the longer one. You can see I've made marks on here where the tool post is going to go. Okay, so that's going to line up about there. So we'll give that a shot. I'm going to do some more cutting. Well, it didn't cut quite through, but it cut through far enough. There we go. So that'll just take a little cleanup on the grinder now, and we'll cut it off. Well, it may be time to replace that wheel, because now it's not cutting through anymore. There we go. Don't want to touch that bad boy, that's going to be hot. Anyway, my point here was just that I think the wheel's lost some of its diameter, so in order to continue cutting, we'll have to put another wheel on. Alright, turners, here's the idea. I've got 3 sets of metal cut up now for what will become 3 tool rests. Okay, this first one is going to be a long captured tool rest. Again, my idea was to take and make a box or tube out of that. It's going to be gusseted up under the post. This is that 1 inch by 8 bolt that I showed you guys before. Here's the bottom part of it, and I actually went out and bought another one. This is a shorter bolt that I just cut the bottom off of, or actually the top, I guess. The hex head would have been up there and the threads would have been down here. So this is going to be welded now, so I'm going to do a little bit of welding. This is going to get welded together, and then this is going to get welded to here, and then these are going to get welded up underneath. Now this one I'm going to play with a little bit. This concept is going to be, this is a 1x8 inch bolt. Normally I would, I've got a bunch of these I keep for making wooden glue blocks that I can thread onto my lathe. I just, my headstock is 1x8 threaded, so I can put this in a block of wood, glue it in there, and then make a faceplate out of it. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to see if I can make an interchangeable tool rest deal out of this. So this is actually going to get welded to this stuff, and then this is going to thread onto here. So that might be a novel idea for a DIY interchangeable tool post. And then finally, this one is just going to be a flat rest. I'm going to double these guys up for double thickness, weld it to here, and then put the gusset under it. So let's get to welding. Okay, just a little word about the welding. I'm going to be using one of these Harbor Freight welders I picked up a while back. It's one of those flux core welders, 90 amp. I think it cost like 89 bucks on sale. Normally probably like 100 bucks. It does a good little job. I'm happy with it. What I did was got a couple of accessories like the stand for the gun. I bought the self-darkening shield, or auto-darkening I guess they call that. Also, you haven't seen me yet. I'll show you myself in a moment, but I've got some of their gear on. There's their gloves. These are the cheap ones. They work. They do a job. There's one of their brushes. I like it. So now I'll show you what I've got on. Alright, Turners. Well, welding is serious business. And again, I'm wearing one of the leather aprons. Got my helmet on, my face shield. Also got these leather sleeves on just to protect my arms, and in combination with the gloves it gives me really good protection. So again, you may not do welding, I don't do a lot of it, but you want to make sure that you're safe when you're doing it. So let's get to welding. Alright guys, my first piece is going to be to make the box out of this piece of channel and this upper piece. And what I've done is I've taken a piece of extra square stock, and I use the 3/8 for the tools. And I put a little thin gauge of steel on there. I welded that on. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me, I'm going to put it like this. It's going to give me a little bit of clearance. I'm going to clamp this together like so, make a sandwich out of it. That's going to give me enough clearance to slide my tool in and out of there. Okay. And I'm going to tack it on the corners all the way around, and then I'm going to lay a bead on there. So I'm not going to show you all the welding, just a little bit. Okay, Turners, well, I've got these tubes glued up now, welded up now. So my long hollowing tool will fit down right through the middle of that. Okay, and just want to give you kind of a sense of where this is going to go next. These post, okay, supports. Okay, this is going to be the one that's experimental with the nut on the top threading onto the post. There's another support. Here's the last one. This is the flat bar. Okay, that's going to go up there, and that's going to get a support too, kind of like that. So back to some more welding. Alright, turners, these are the not the best looking welds, but these are the 3 tool rests that I fabbed up. 2 of them are tubular, and I'll show you how that works in a moment. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of paint on these likely just to pretty them up a little bit, but the welds are solid. This is that new concept that I was thinking of as far as making a removable. There we go. So I can make more rests and just use this 1x8 threaded bolt end. And I made some scribe marks on these. I don't know if you can see it. There's a little line here. There's one there. There's one on here. You can see it there. This one has it too. This is the flat rest. Okay, so this is a flat top box type rest. I put a little edge on there just so I could, get it sometimes into some kind of a other type of vessel. And this one has a little scribe line too. What this does, and I'll take this over to the lathe now so you can take a look at this. So here's the tool rest. Okay, I got that tightened up. Let me loosen that up a little bit, see if I can get that in there. And so what I do with this is I can adjust this to that scribe line right to the top of here. And what I've done is I've used my hollowing tool on top of here to find out where the center mark is here and be just a little bit above center. So that's what these are meant to do. So that's what that scribe line is for. That's my mark. So I know every time, I could probably put a collet ring or something around here. I just use a scribe line because it's easier. So anyway, I'm going to be using these in one of my upcoming videos. So I'll probably, like I said, throw some paint on there just to clean them up a little bit. But I want to also give honorable mention to a couple of the tools I used that you've heard me mention before. The Harbor Freight welder that I use. So there it is. It's a little 90 amp welder. Okay. It worked. I can't really say much more than that. It is what it is. It's cheap welder. It welded. Enough said. Over here are a couple of tools maybe some of you guys have also. These are angle grinders, and I keep different things on them. A cutting wheel on this one, grinding wheel on this one. This one's got my flap wheel on it. And so I also have a fourth one. These are the Harbor Freight ones. These are the cheap ones. Okay, I've collected over the years. And then this is my little cordless Craftsman that I keep a wire brush on. So I used all of those, and there's the little Harbor Freight cutoff, 6-inch cutoff tool that I used, and of course an old Harbor Freight grinder. So all of these things, of course, came in really handy for cutting up the material and then ultimately welding it and grinding it. Thanks again for joining this video and watching me make up a couple of tool rests. Hopefully that's going to be the end of the non-turning excursions for a while. And like I've been talking about, I've got a fluted vase, natural edge vase I've got coming up, and I'll be using some of these rests, and so you guys will see them in action and see how well they work out. So again, I just want to say thanks to everybody who's watching and especially subscribing. I'm still not monetizing, and so I don't make any money off of these. Again, my whole thing is about doing affordable things, getting affordable stuff to let me do my wood turning. And so thanks for following along. Thanks for all the new subscribers that are joining, and we'll see you for the next one.